Hi, good afternoon. Beautiful spring day. So I hope you all are enjoying it. It's just gorgeous here in Northwest Indiana on the shores of Lake Michigan. So I want to start out by telling you that Kim pointed out to me that in the last episode, I failed to mention the Jack's Tip Jar segment that we have. Failed to mention it because Kim has not yet completed doing the graphic of the Jack's Tip Jar, so that I had no heads up that I was supposed to do this after I had talked about her being such a great graphic artist and everything. But I guess you'll get to it eventually, right, Kim?
Eventually.
So,
Now it's bottom of the list.
so I'll try to remember it in the future. Whoop, there it goes. Even if I don't have the graphic rendering of Jack's Tip Jar, which I do hope to have soon. But I'll start out today's episode with some information for you that's a mixed bag. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about writing for television and motion pictures today. And there's bad news and there's good news. The really bad news, is that if you want to write for television or motion pictures, I'm very sorry, but you gotta move to LA. You don't have to live there forever. I lived out there for 19 long years, but you gotta live out there. There's just no way around it. You gotta be around people who are in the industry. And as you will find out, when you move out to LA, everybody in Los Angeles is in the industry. They may not all have a job in the industry. They may not all be working in it. They may not have money coming in, but everyone is in the entertainment industry. To wit, I will tell you an interesting story about when I was working at Entrepreneur Magazine, in the late 70s, and I walk into a 7-Eleven, and there's a kid behind the counter, and I pick up a pack of Dentine and I put it on the counter, and he goes like this, and he's on the phone, and he's talking with what I assume is an agent, and he says, "You tell them that we're going to give up the international, but we insist on keeping the merchandising rights." I'm trying to get this kid's attention. All I want to do is buy a pack of Dentine, but he's on the phone for like 5 minutes with his agent. I finally walked out of the place. But everybody in LA is in the entertainment business. 90% of people are working in the 7-Eleven in Santa Monica, or they're working at the Shell station in Beverly Hills, or they're working as a waiter at La Frite over in the Valley, but they're in the industry. That's what they want to do, and that's why they have come to Los Angeles. So you're going to find out that there's a lot of competition for you. But the upside to this is that you're going to get a lot of contacts and people that, if they're nice people, and there are some nice people in LA, they'll be able to guide you and maybe give you a tip and turn you on to somebody that's going to kind of help you out in the entertainment industry. So you got to live out there, okay? And here we go with Jack's Tip Jar. Even though I don't have my graphic illustration for it, I'm remembering it now. Here's my tip of the day. Before you move out to LA, before you start writing a screenplay, or if you've already written a screenplay, you absolutely must get a copy of Sid Field's screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting. This is, if you want to be a screenwriter, this is the most important book that you will ever read. God rest Sid Field's soul. He saved me a lot of work because I don't have to explain everything to you. He will explain everything that you need to know about the craft of screenwriting, the structure of screenwriting, plot points, everything that you need to know. He's going to give you that information. So please, please get Sid Field's screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting. Okay, you can get it on Amazon. Another book that's fun for you to get, this is one that I really enjoyed. William Goldman, very famous screenwriter who wrote Marathon Man, Tinsel Boys and Girls Together, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men. I'm reading from the back of the blurb on the book. But Goldman wrote a fabulous national bestseller called Adventures in the Screen Trade. And he interviews a number of the top writers of his time in the screenwriting industry. And they tell their story. And it's fascinating to hear the inside story from a screenwriter that was living in LA, like you were hearing from me. These are A-list writers. And what I like about Goldman's book is that it's got lots of dollops of humor in it. And boy, you gotta have humor if you're gonna survive in this industry. And I remember when I first got out to LA, money was really tight. I was able to get extra work here and there, but I wanted to supplement my income. So I figure I'm a smart guy, and I'm watching some of the game shows on television. I thought, I know these answers. I can get on this thing. So I found out the producers of Jack Barry's and Dan Enright's, Barry and Enright was the name of the studio. If you ever watched Quiz Show, wonderful film. If you didn't watch it, you got to rent that and watch it. Barry and Enright was the producer of Quiz Show. And I find out the name of the production company. I call them up and they say, come on in, And I come in, I take the test. And afterwards, one of the assistants comes up and says, hey, you did really good on the test. We want to consider having you for Tic-Tac-Toe, quiz show. Wow, fantastic. I come back about 3 weeks later, walk in, and there's about maybe 10 people. I guess they have backups in case things go fast. They'll have other people to put on. And I figure I'm going to be one of the first people on the show. And they get me into the chair for makeup and hair. And I had No Place Like Home that was published at that point. It was a bestseller. And I had gone through that money real fast. But, it was the film rights were sold to MGM. And I got people doing the makeup, and I'm telling these young ladies all about my novel and everything. And the production assistant comes over to me. He's a young guy in his 20s. And the makeup artists are telling him, oh, Jordan, you got to hear about Jack's novel. It's a bestseller, and he sold it to MGM. And Jordan, this young guy's going, oh, that's very, very interesting. So they finish my makeup, and he says, you sit down right over there. I sit down with like 8 other people. One by one, they're calling others of the people that are sitting next to me to be on the show, and they're going through playing the game show. And it's like an hour and a half, and I'm the last one that's sitting on the bench. And somebody yells, cut, we're wrapped for the day. And Jordan comes over to me, and he says, well, we didn't get to you. He says, if we decide we're going to use you, we'll give you a call, and we'll have you back in again. And I start to walk out, and I remember this. He said, I wish you a lot of luck with your bestseller. And it was like, right in your face. So that was one of my first lessons about power in Los Angeles. The secretaries, the administrative assistants, the blockers have a lot of power in that industry. So you don't ever want to offend those people. But you got to live in LA, okay? It's a madhouse. In a lot of ways, it's like a zoo with the cages left open. I'm sorry if I'm offending my many friends in Los Angeles, but they know it's true. But you got to live out there. You got to get into the industry. And how you get that first contact, how you break through after you have read over and over Sid Field's screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting, and made all of your notes with highlighters and studied it and studied it and studied it. And once you've got that screenplay, then it's a question of getting that first break. By the way, Sid Field's book is about screenwriting for motion pictures. There's a great book by Max Wiley called Writing for Television, and writing for television is different. There's a little bit of overlap, but Wiley's book is excellent. He kind of does for TV what Sid Field did for motion pictures. Wiley's book was written back in 1960. Don't be put off by that. The principles are the same. Okay, he's not going to talk to you a lot about the content, the creative content. What you want to learn is the structure, because the structure has to be there once you're sending it to a agent or a producer or anybody that's going to get you in the front door. So I think it'll be interesting for you to hear a concrete example of how I broke into the industry. Everybody's got a different story, okay? But my story's kind of interesting, and it's one of the ways of breaking in. But everybody, although they have different ways that they broke in, they have one thing in common. They took the bat off their shoulder and they swung, okay? And like I told you before, hockey great Wayne Gretzky said it best. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So you gotta take that shot. You know how many times the experiments were done on the light bulb, okay? And somebody asked Bell once, I think it was Bell that invented the light bulb. Edison, I'm sorry. So, thank you, Kim. Somebody asked Edison, what did it feel like to fail 200 times? And he said, I didn't fail 200 times. I learned 200 ways not to do it. So you got to take that bat off your shoulder. You got to swing. You got to take your shot. Read Sid Field's book. Make up your mind if you're going to be a screenwriter or a television writer. I'm very sorry, but you got to do what I did. Say goodbye to family and friends. Pack up your car and move out to LA. Get a little apartment like I did and suck it up and live out there for a couple years, and hopefully you'll break in. And I'm going to show you a lot of different ways that you can do that, and hopefully you'll make your own path. Have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.